This is the cheapest configuration that you can buy of the 2020 iMac, and in today's video, we're going to figure out if the last Intel iMac is worth buying. Now, looking at the front of this box, you'd be forgiven for wondering if I accidentally ordered the previous version. The box hasn't changed since 2017, and the design hasn't changed either since 2012. To say that this generation of iMac is long in the tooth would be, I think, probably the nicest thing that you could say about it. But never matter, it's what's on the inside that counts, and this year we have some pretty noticeable internal spec bumps. So why don't we start with an unboxing? This isn't exactly going to be the most brand new and fresh experience. If you've seen anyone unbox an iMac in the past 8 years, this is probably not going to be a surprise to you. Wow, look, we have an iMac. We have our mouse and keyboard. We'll come back to that in a minute. Then we have this little piece here. You know, this may not be the freshest design, but the packaging for the iMac and just sort of the overall package of an all-in-one computer such as an iMac, it's hard to argue with. These things are pretty convenient. Power cord. And there we have the iMac itself. My favorite part about the iMac packaging is that you can reuse it. So I actually travel quite a bit with my iMac Pro, which is pretty much the same sort of general concept as far as packaging. You get this really nice fabric sleeve that goes over the entire device. It's great. I would definitely recommend keeping all of the packaging if you get one of these. Also, the cardboard box that it ships in is really convenient because if you ever need to sell your iMac, which presumably you will at some point, you can literally just slap a shipping label on it. It's a really convenient way to move these things around. The only thing I don't keep is this plastic that goes over the screen. You don't really need to keep this. Well, there you have it. That is an iMac. It's not exactly surprising. It's a familiar design, shall we say. It's definitely not a bad design. I've always sort of liked the tapered edge look of the iMac, but I'll be honest, the chin doesn't do a whole lot for me, and the bezels, they can go as well. One thing I can confirm straight off the bat, the RAM access door is still here. Some people were confused. They thought maybe that wasn't available anymore. It's still here, just like on all of the 27-inch iMacs of this generation. All right, so the only thing we have left now is our equally well-packaged keyboard and mouse. Say what you will about the Magic Mouse, and what most people have to say is extremely negative because this is not very well designed. I actually use it just because it comes with the iMac. It's got your multi-touch gestures. You only have to charge it like every other month. The battery life is crazy, so I just use it because why not? We also get a lightning charger for charging the mouse and keyboard, and some documentation with, and this is fun, you still get a microfiber cloth with an iMac now. I just wish that they would bring this back to the MacBooks. Remember, you used to get a microfiber cloth until I think even the 2015s had it, and then they stopped doing it. I don't know why, but they're still doing it on the iMac, which I think is mainly a testament to the fact that they haven't updated anything or changed the packaging in 8 years. All right, so let's continue the setup process by grabbing our power cable, and we're just gonna plug that in on the back of the iMac. Then we'll plug it into our power strip and we'll power on the iMac, flip the switches on the keyboard and on the mouse. And just like that, we've got ourselves an iMac all-in-one setup. Now at this point you might be thinking, Luke, what the hell are you doing? Why are you showing us how to set up this iMac? It literally hasn't changed in 8 years. All you have to do is plug in the power cord, turn on the mouse and keyboard, and you're all set. And then you just go through and set it up like any other Mac. So why am I showing this to you? Every time a new iMac comes out, people are very quick to say, look at the specs that you're getting for this thing. That's terrible. You could build an $1,800 gaming PC with much better performance. You could build a Hackintosh with much better performance. And that is absolutely, unequivocally, undeniably true. iMacs are not going to offer you better value than building a PC, but that's not the point. The point of this iMac is convenience. The point of this iMac is I have been recording for 10 minutes, and I have now completely done everything that needs to happen to get this iMac running. When you buy an iMac, you're not just buying a box with a Core i5 and a Radeon Pro 5300M and some RAM and an SSD in it. That's not what you're buying. You're buying a complete computing experience. I've got a 5K display with True Tone. I've got a mouse. I've got a keyboard. I have everything that I need to start using this computer with literally zero work, and it takes up this much space and uses one power cord. But everyone always seems to forget that as soon as they look at a spec sheet. Now, I am also noticing something else that's kind of funny. The keyboard that's included here still has the Option key that you'll recognize from any Mac from 2017. So they haven't updated literally anything since 2017. So that's the unboxing experience for this iMac. Let's set it up and talk about everything that's new. So yeah, it's not exactly the most exhilarating update we've ever seen here, but it is actually pretty solid. Now I have to give credit to some people who correctly guessed in the comments under my last video that I would in fact go for the cheapest bone stock base model 2020 iMac. And you may be wondering, why did I do that? Why did I not want to review the nanotexture glass or the 8-core processor or the faster, fancier graphics? And well, there are a couple of reasons. For one, a lot of people are only interested in buying the cheapest version of whatever Apple product it is, and oftentimes they don't get a ton of attention. So I wanted to talk about this one specifically. And the other reason is, quite simply, I'm not comfortable investing a large amount of money into an iMac that's this late in its cycle. We've got Apple Silicon around the corner, even if it's like a year or so. This design is 8 years old, and apparently we've got a new one in the pipeworks, so I'm not willing to spend $3,000-$4,000, even $2,000 on an iMac that's going to be out of date somewhat soon. But let's get down to business. What is new with this iMac? This is the base configuration. It costs $1,800, and for that, here's what you're getting. This machine runs on a Core i5-10600 clocked at 3.1 gigahertz. It's a noticeable upgrade over last year's i5-8500 because now we get 12 threads instead of 6. This helps a lot with performance. For graphics, we've got a Radeon Pro 5300 chip with 4 gigabytes of GDDR6 VRAM. This is based on the same graphics found in a 16-inch MacBook Pro, but with a higher TDP that should allow for extra performance. Unfortunately, as with last year, we're only getting 8 gigabytes of 2666 MHz DDR4 with 2 empty slots allowing for easy expansion to 16 gigabytes. But let's be real, at $1,800, it should already have 16 gigabytes of RAM. Our storage is now finally, thankfully, solid state. Gone is the 1 terabyte Fusion drive, and in its place is a 256 gigabyte SSD. I can't believe this is a new feature in 2020, but here we are. We also have new upgraded speakers and microphones, as well as finally a 1080p webcam. I cannot believe it took this long. So if you're going to be relying on Zoom for school or for work, this setup is going to make a ton of difference. It sounds and looks better than any other Mac, save for maybe the iMac Pro, which also has a 1080p webcam. So let's hop into some benchmarks and get an idea of how this iMac performs. Well, in Cinebench R20, the results are very impressive. We're seeing scores of 3,250 sustained over multiple runs. That puts this iMac in competition with the Core i9 16-inch MacBook Pro and a 12-core Trashcan Mac Pro, which costs a lot more and has twice as many cores and threads. Compared to last year's base model 27-inch iMac, we're also seeing really solid performance gains thanks to those extra threads. When under load in Cinebench, the CPU runs at a steady 4.2 GHz. That's pretty close to the max turbo speed of 4.5 GHz of this CPU. Really impressive. Being Apple, however, temperatures do get up really high before the fan starts going. It usually sits around 97 degrees Celsius with the fan running at half speed. Apple prioritizes decibels over degrees, and that very well could take a toll on the longevity of these Intel Macs. Moving on to graphics, the Radeon Pro 5300 should definitely be an upgrade over the previous base graphics, Radeon Pro 570X. The 5300 outperforms both configurations of 16-inch MacBook Pro, and we're also clobbering the previous 580X graphics found in the high-end $2,300 2019 iMac, as well as a standard vanilla RX 580. When we put all this together, it means we're getting noticeably better performance out of this year's base model iMac than we got out of last year's high-end $2,300 iMac. So the big question here is not whether the 2020 iMac is better than the last one. It very obviously is. You're gonna get more performance and less cost, especially given that you no longer have to pay extra to get solid state storage. And this year, I think for a lot of people, it would be worthwhile to step up to the mid-tier option that adds a slightly more powerful Core i5-10600 and crucially 512 gigabytes of storage. I think this one really should have 512 as well, but you know, it's Apple. If you're looking at a new iMac because you need one, if you don't care about the dated design and the thick bezels, or you're worried about the transition to Apple Silicon, this is a fantastic option. There's a lot of customization in an iMac. You can put better graphics and 10 cores in these things, plenty of power to go around. However, if you're sitting on a base iMac Pro or another recent iMac and you're trying to find a new model that will last you, there's inherently the limitation of, well, this is going to be outdated somewhat soon. We don't really know a whole lot about the timeline for the 27-inch iMac. It could get replaced in a couple of months. It could be almost 2 years before the new generation and Apple Silicon makes its way this far up the performance ladder of Apple's lineup. But regardless, recommending this iMac is always going to come with that cautionary note. Be careful because Apple Silicon is coming. But as weird as it may sound, I do still recommend this iMac. As dated as it might be, the 27-inch iMac has always represented a really interesting price target. Obviously, you're not going to ever be able to completely escape the Apple tax, but these iMacs offer pretty decent performance and they're not outrageously expensive. Given Apple's offering right now, at under $2,000, this is pretty much the best bang for your buck you're gonna get. Slap in some extra RAM, hook up a Thunderbolt 3 drive enclosure, and you've got yourself a decently powerful machine with a really great 5K display. This thing would be fantastic for 4K video editing, which I have proven because this video was edited on this iMac. It would also be great for programming, animation, 3D rendering, all sorts of stuff. This is a really great all-rounder iMac, even if it's not the most exciting thing in the world. So that's gonna do it for today's first look at the 2020 27-inch iMac. Let me know in the comments below what your opinion is of this machine. Is it worth it? Should you wait? Is it boring? What do you think? Let me know all of that in the comments below. As usual, make sure to follow me on Twitter at Luke Miani. Thank you, by the way, for 10,000 followers on Twitter. Really big milestone that we just hit yesterday. And of course, check out my subreddit, which is linked in the description below, as well as RAM upgrades for this iMac. So with that, I will see you all in the next video.